A normal day suddenly became anything but. When people all over the world began waking up to a startling and instant fact. Everyone in the world who had an Undertale OC, woke up as their OC. Everyone was shocked or scared of the changes that were happening. As more and more reports flooded into law enforcement agencies across the globe, the governments of the world swiftly started to order the capture of any and all transformed individuals. Luckily for some, they were in out-of-the-way enough areas, or were able to figure out how to disguise themselves using their OC's powers or items before getting captured. There were billions of questions, endless unknowns. Why did this happen? How did it happen? Why this specific fandom? Who was to blame? Did Toby Fox, the game's creator, also get transformed into his in-game persona of the annoying dog? Did the people who worked on the game with him also transformed as well? What were the upper limits of power these OCS had? Some were supposedly godlike or actually gods. Could these godlike entities be controlled and trained? Would these OCS be the next nuclear bomb? And which country would be the first to figure out how to use them as living weapons? The only thing that was clear was that everyone with an OC was on the list of targets. But how many OCS were there? And how many never came out and posted theirs online? And for those far in the middle of nowhere, was it worth going after them if there were already so many in captivity? Although there was one very specific type of OC that seemed to catch the interest of scientists around the world. Parasitic OCS. For many of those who woke up as a fresh parasite, it was trickier than other OCS. They were small, weak, and the only thing they had going for them was that they were basically unkillable, and insanely fast. No longer human, the parasites did as they do and took over hosts. Usually a police or an agent trying to kill or capture them. Many wondering if an ink could make them a son's body to use. If there were any inks not captured, that is. It was beginning to be like a cross between a zombie apocalypse movie and an alien race stranded on Earth movie. Some of the more inclusive countries making little camps for the OCS. Though the treatment at these camps were probably worse than in the prisons of other countries. All around the world OCS were being persecuted for just being different. It was history repeating itself again. And no one seemed to notice or care, at least not out loud. But online anons were buzzing about the injustice of it all. It wasn't much, but it at least showed that some people were still sane. Though all in all a lot of human OCS weren't even captured. At least the ones that didn't look like Frisk or Chara weren't. And with Chara and Frisk OCS quickly figuring out how to make and use save points, a lot of OCS who were able to remember resets were able to avoid capture themselves. And not only that, small pockets of resistance were forming in every country around the world. In the more remote places, secret safe zones were being made. And in the areas of land unclaimed by any nation, small OC-run countries were being formed. Or were going to be formed eventually. Places like Antarctica, too cold for humans, were paradise for OCs of undear or furry natures. Desert areas too hot for humans were perfect for reptiles, insects, arachnids, and again skeletons were fine here too. The aquatic OCS hid in the waters and the oceans. God OCS like inks, errors, and so on could also survive underwater. More and more OCS making safe zones, as they went to places humans couldn't. It was these pockets of resistance that would be insanely needed later on. But for now it was impossible to organize anything from these scattered OCS. At least for now, it was all about escape and survival. Luckily the amount of magic now in the world was way more than enough for the OCS that could make magic food to produce all the food they'd need. Thirst was also taken care of in this way, though they did need actual fluids every once in a while, or at least the non-water-dwelling ones did. The other issue was the skeleton OCS needing to learn Ecto to relieve themselves, aka use the restroom. It was a steep learning curve, yet easier for some than others. Hybrid OCS that could turn from monster skeleton to human had the easiest times as they could just learn to transform. This was also how a lot of the OCS get much needed water, sending the hybrids to buy water or steal it if necessary. The old world was gone now, and the new world was on the rise. Everything had changed in an instant, and it was definitely going to get worse before it got better.